From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode 188. It is brought to you this week by Warby Parker, Casper, and Simple Contacts. I'm your host, Stephen Hackett. I'm joined, as I am most weeks, by my co-host, Mr. Michael Hurley. How are you?
Very well, Federico.
What?
No. That was what was coming out of my mouth. Hi, Stephen.
Hi. Federico's here too. Spoiler alert.
This is me.
I just wanted him to know. I felt like Federico was just really intrigued to know how I was feeling, so I just thought I would give him that information immediately.
Do you often get Federico and I confused in conversation?
It's accents, man. Can't tell between them. They're just fancy
we
to me.
do sound very similar.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of topics this week in the keeping with how spring of 2018 has been. It's been a very busy week. We have lots of stuff to talk about. But first, we need to talk about some follow-up. And we're going to start with Snapchat, which is an app that young people use to send pictures to each other.
Not anymore. They use IG now. They don't use Snapchat. I don't know
look
who's
at you,
left.
IG. That's what the cool kids say.
Exactly, because I wanted to show how young and hip I am. IG. They all use IG for their stories and the like. So, they don't use Snapchat anymore, but Snapchat has finally released the True Depth related stuff that was shown on stage during the iPhone 10.
In September.
Yeah, in September. So this includes, I think it's 3 different filters that map to your face. It also does some portrait mode type stuff, so it blurs out the background behind you. It's pretty impressive stuff. I do wonder why it took so long for them to release it, though. But yeah, they're cool.
Look at it this way. It took less time to do this than it did for AirPower to ship.
That's true. You heard it here first. Snapchat, more effective company than Apple, according to Stephen Hackett.
That don't quote me directly.
That's tweet length quotes right there. But I like them. There's one that's like a wrestling thing, Ultimate Warrior. Looks cool, But I had nothing else to say on it. But, there you go. They're there if you want them.
There's news in the Amazon Echo universe, a new service or new feature, I guess, called Intercom. So you can now ask your Echo to make announcements to all of the other devices around the home. So I could be in my office, for instance, and ask the Amazon assistant to intercom, or I actually don't know what the command is, but then I could basically...
It's either tell everyone or broadcast. You can say one of those two things.
Okay. And then it's like ship-wide communication, right? So I can just be like the voice of God in my house to everyone inside with the other 2 Echoes.
Oh, you can also say announce. So you can say announce, tell everyone, or broadcast. And it doesn't do what you would necessarily think that it would do. Like, it doesn't send your voice to the other devices. It's the Echoes speak. So if you say, like, hey, Echo, announce that dinner is ready, then all of them will say, dinner is ready.
I want my voice to be booming throughout my house.
I don't know. Have you ever listened to? Because I don't know if you could, if you knew. If I don't know if people know you can do this, but in the Amazon Echo app, right, there is a section where you can go through and it tells you what the device thinks that it heard.
Yeah.
Right. You can actually listen to the audio. It's like you can press play and actually hear yourself. The microphone quality is no good, right? Like for human ears, obviously it's fine for robots, but like it sounds terrible. Like so I actually think this is a better way of doing it.
That feature, when you go back and listen to your recordings, it's almost like in video games when you find those old tapes, like those audio recordings from other characters, and you listen back, and it's always such a crappy quality.
I hate those things.
Yeah, I know.
Also, there is something really weird about listening to the things that you say.
Yeah.
It kind of feels a bit creepy.
Said the podcaster.
Is it what you do for a living?
No. Okay, I need to. Okay. It sounds terrible to listen to my voice. It's horrific thing. No, but because it's like when you're speaking to it, like you're never expecting yourself to be like really heard. It kind of sounds weird to me. Like when I listen to it, I don't know. It sounds strange. It just sounds very strange. Just, I don't know. Try it out. If you think it's not strange, then great. Maybe I just don't like the sound of my own voice. For some reason, this is only rolling out to the US and Canada right now. I don't know what is wrong with Amazon.
USA.
Like, there's still features. Like, I can't get that. What was that new feature that was announced a couple of weeks ago? Where you could do the follow-up thing, right? Where you can ask multiple things. I still don't have that. Like, Amazon are creating this. They own the devices. Why do they not roll out internationally? I don't get it. Like, I really don't understand. Like, I had to wait like 6 months to get multiple timers. Like, I just don't understand what they're doing over there. Come on, Amazon. Like, just sort it out.
I don't know. So we're going to wrap up follow-up talking about Apple Music. The service has officially hit 40 million users. That number had been floated, I think, last week as sort of a rumor, but it is sort of official now. And Apple has announced the promotion of Oliver Schuscher. Schuscher sounds fancy.
Schusser. I think it's just Schusser.
Is leading Apple Music worldwide, always on, and is the new vice president of Apple Music and international content. He's an Apple alum. He's worked on the App Store, iBooks, and podcast teams, and he's from some town called London. I don't know anyone who lives there.
I think it's London. Yeah, it's French.
London. Yeah, they missed in the copy and paste from this text document. It missed some of the accents.
There's an apostrophe after the L, so it's London. London is island in French, so it's it's good. That's what it says.
It's the little island, is what it means. If you're to translate it. So he's from the little island, and he played a key role in the Shazam acquisition, which isn't complete yet.
Right.
Because #regulation, but he played a role in that. 40 million users is a lot of users considering they're all paying. It's a lot of people, man. Catching, they're doing. I think they're doing a good job of like building that thing. Like Apple Music. I mean, it's one of those things where it surprises me every time I see the number increasing, because I wonder to myself how it's happening. Like what, like why does it continue to increase? Like what? I don't really feel like Apple are like specifically doing stuff. I guess it's just like maybe new people buying devices, or just people like opening the music app at a random time and being like, yeah, okay, I'll sign up for this. Because it feels like it's, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it, like, but I feel like it's not as heavily marketed as Spotify, but maybe I'm in the wrong market for it or something, right? To not see the ads. I don't know.
Yeah, and to compare Spotify, so they just had their IPO last week. In their filing paperwork disclosed that they had 71 million paying users at the end of 2017, which was up from 48 million in 2016. But remember, Spotify also has a free tier, and the free tier has 160 million people on it. So for Spotify,
I think that's why it surprises me, right? That like Spotify have got like 30 million more paying users, but like Apple doesn't have like a free
There's no way
tier
in without
for
paying.
people to try it. So it's like it's wild that they've gotten to 40 million so quickly.
They do have the trial, which is is it 30 days or is it still longer?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people understand that trials mean you're going to get, you're in the system, right? Like, free is very different to trial.
That's fair.
I think. But so I think it's pretty impressive that they've gotten to this point, especially with Taylor Swift going back to Spotify.
And Federico. Really, both of them.
Yeah.
Did you go back because Taylor Swift left?
Yeah. Our management decided to go back to Spotify.
There's some bad blood there, maybe.
Is that a Taylor Swift quote from you?
I'm as shocked as anyone.
Wait.
That's a reference.
I just thought that was... Wow.
I mean,
look at you.
Steven. That's... you know music. That's
not made by really sad bands from the early 2000s.
I mean, I just assumed that you only listen to the Beatles because, old Apple.
No.
I'm surprised. Congratulations.
Thanks. Mike, can we end this?
Yeah, we most certainly can. Today's show is brought to you by Warby Parker. Quality eyewear at a fraction of the usual prices. Warby Parker was founded by 4 friends who believed that your glasses shouldn't cost more than your iPhone does. They've cut out the middleman so they can sell directly to you in store and online. This means that Warby Parker are able to provide high-quality, good-looking prescription frames at a much fairer price. And if you're looking online and thinking, I don't know about this online glasses buying thing, Warby Parker have made it so easy because they have a free home try-on program. You can order 5 pairs of glasses and try them on for 5 days with no obligation to buy. It doesn't cost you anything. Shipping is free. They even include a prepaid return shipping label as well. So you can go on their website, pick a bunch of frames, and then when you found your favorite pair, they can even call your doctor for you if you're not even sure what your prescription is. Couldn't make it more simple. Warby Parker frames start at $95 for their glasses, including prescription lenses that all have an anti-glare and anti-scratch coating. And not only that, but every pair that you buy, Warby Parker will distribute a pair of glasses to someone in need. So as well as looking fancy fresh, you're also doing something great for somebody else in the world. Now, Mr. Stephen Hackett, I know that you did the home try-on recently, and I've seen you've had some super cool-looking frames in your YouTube videos.
Yeah, so you do you pick 5 and they mail them to you, and then you have the hard decision of seeing which one you want to go with. And so for me, I tried them on for my whole family. We did like a fashion show. I was very self-conscious about that. Took pictures, put them on Instagram because I'm a youth, and people voted. And it's just a lot of fun to
IG.
Go through that, because when you normally pick out glasses like in the eye doctor's office or something, like you're alone, right? Like you're trying to FaceTime your partner and they don't answer, and then you're just left to make a decision alone, which is horrifying. And so Warby Parker makes that sort of a family affair. Talk to people in your life and pick something as a group. Lots of fun.
Listeners of this show can go to warbyparker.com/connected and order a free home try-on kit today. Once you've done that, check out the Warby Parker app. They've built an awesome home try-on companion, which lets you create a quick video of you wearing all the frames so your family and friends can help you choose, right? So you can have even a virtual fashion show if you want. And this is pretty friggin' awesome. If you have an iPhone 10, you can use their brand new Find Your Fit feature. It uses the True Depth camera to map and measure key facial features. Then it will recommend around 12 frames that they believe will best fit your face. The process is seamless and takes just a few seconds. I just think if you have an iPhone 10, just try this out anyway, just for funsies. It's time to upgrade your glasses experience. Go to warbyparker.com/connected to order your free home try-on today. Thank you so much to Warby Parker for their support of this show. So there is a new red iPhone rumored on Sunday, came out on Monday. There's a MKBHD unboxing, which you can go and watch, which includes just some great sounds of plastic being peeled off of phones, which is one of just my favorite sounds in the world. You know that little sound that it makes. And so here we go, right? So we've had this a few times now. I think once before with the iPhone 7, they did a product red. So, money goes for AIDS research from the sale of these products. And people get a nice new red iPhone, right? It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, yeah. I just wonder why they don't do this earlier, like in September. Imagine if you could choose between black iPhone, gold iPhone, silver iPhone, and red iPhone. And
I think a lot more people would buy the red ones.
And I almost don't wanna say this, but maybe that's exactly why Apple may not want to do this, because there would be
I think I agree
a
with you.
lot of money that goes to research, which, I mean, it's a noble effort, and I applaud Apple for doing this. But if you really care about it, then why not do it in the window of maximum exposure to new customers? And maybe that's exactly the answer I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think it could be one of two things. Like, one is the money that they don't want to give away. They want to give away some money, but not all the money.
Yeah.
And the other, that maybe from a design perspective, they prefer their colors. Right?
Could be.
And they want people to have the colors that they think are the best, rather than adding in red, which is maybe not the color Apple would necessarily think was the best for their products. There's no iPhone 10, right? And why is that? Maybe they think that it doesn't look as good, or maybe they don't, they want the 10 to remain this premium thing, which can only be silver and black because it's fancy and premium and grown up, right? I don't know, but there's definitely something weird about the fact that they do this. And they do it Did they do it? Is there like Is there like a World AIDS Day or something that they do it in conjunction with?
It's in December. I looked it up.
So it's not even related to that, right? Like I would get it if that was the reason. Huh.
I think the answer is as cynical as it seems. They want to prop up mid-cycle iPhone sales. Like I don't know how many people go out and buy this. I've only seen one red iPhone 7 out in the wild, but it is mid-cycle. I think actually this week may even start the new quarter for Apple. I'm not positive about that, but it's mid-cycle. And if you can get some people in the door to buy a phone in a cycle that's generally slower, then it's not a bad thing from Apple's perspective. I mean, that's cynical, but I kind of think that's what's going on.
But that's like little column A, little column B, right? Like it helps you business-wise and also helps the world.
Oh, sure,
right?
yeah.
Like, whilst I agree that it's a cynical take, I know that you're not saying this, but like it's still a better thing than a no thing.
Yeah.
It's better than they do this and get something out of it than not do it at all. So, like, it's like little column A, little column B, right? They could just give all their money to AIDS research, but that's not how it works, right? Like, that's not how these things work. They partner with this company, they create a thing, it's like a limited edition, people buy it. This is like Product Red has been around for pretty much as long as I've been interested in Apple products. Yeah, right? Like all the iPod Nanos and stuff used to come in these colors. So, it's a cool thing, but I do agree that I think this just comes down to the fact of like I would like more colors. Yes. Right? Just in general. I think that would be really nice. But I haven't, I just don't have any real belief or hope that they're going to branch outside of the colored aluminium that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that video MKBHD did, the red looks incredible, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing it in the store. Like that would be so great to have that level of saturation in a green or a blue. I've got the 5C phones here, and like they're beautiful, but they're a little washed out. They're not as vibrant as these are. I agree with you. I wish Apple would do it because I think it would be a lot of fun.
However, at the same time, for me, I always have a case, so the color of the phone doesn't really make a difference in the long run anyway.
That's the huge other side of this, that most people by far have a case on their phone, and Apple does keep those colors refreshed.
I feel like Apple would have to make clear cases if they made colored phones,
or punch holes in them.
That would also be kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you show off the color. Just put a bunch of holes in a really awkward place.
There'll be a link to my 5C video in the show notes. Go watch it.
Of course there will. Yeah, we can put that in there too. But yeah, this red one, it's more bright. It's definitely more bright than the last one because it's not the anodized aluminium, which is typically like just darker anyway because of the process. But it does look pretty nice, I've got to say, because it's pretty nice. Stephen, do you want to break down some Mac Pro news?
I do. So this is, at this point now, like a week old. So the gist of it, I'm sure everyone's heard, is that Matt Panzarino over at TechCrunch got invited out to Apple's campus, and sort of like a part two of the Mac Roundtable last year, kind of got a status update on the Mac Pro. And the highlights here are, it's a 2019 product. That's a direct quote from Apple. It's not going to be this year. I think we had even said on this show, I kind of thought it would be previewed at WWDC and then released at the end of this year. Not true, 2019. So that is what it is. And I think they wanted to clear that air for two reasons. One, you don't want people grumbling at WWDC, given the bad news now, and they're over it by June. And they even addressed this directly in a quote saying, we have a lot of customers who are debating buying an iMac Pro and if they should wait for a Mac Pro or not. And that's a clear signal to those users. If you need something now, the iMac Pro is your only option for, at least until sometime in 2019. So that's fair. I'm glad Apple communicated that, because if this keynote in June came and went with no Mac Pro conversation, like lots of people would be talking about that. And now we talk about it in April and we don't talk about it in June, and we can talk about new stuff in June. So that makes lots of sense. The thing I want to talk to the two of you about is why does this process take so long? But B, the creation and then the disclosure of what Apple is calling a Pro workflow team. So we'll get to that in a second. But why is this taking so long? There's a lot of feeling on Twitter and including in our like follow-up email. Like, why can't they just put Xeons in a box? Like, take the iMac Pro, put it in a box, put some PCI slots in it, and ship it. You can build a PC very easily. Why can't Apple just build a box that runs Mac OS? I think that's a fair question, and I'm curious what y'all think about that.
Design. Like, you got to be proud of the things you're putting out there. And whilst I understand people want just raw power, Apple are never going to give you that in something that they haven't designed and made special in their own way. They're just not going to do it, right? Like, and I understand that people might want it, but for now, they'll just tell you, and I guess there's part of this is why they are telling you, if you want power, buy an iMac Pro, because you got some time. Right, and I think, and I like that they came out and kind of said that they were thinking they wanted to protect people that were trying to make purchase decisions. I mean, but that's what they'll tell you until they have something that they're proud of to put on a poster. Like, Apple is the biggest company in the world, right? If they released a black box that had all the power in it, that'd be creamed in the press, right? For this ugly thing, like, it doesn't matter who it's for. It doesn't matter who it's for. Like, everyone would find out about the fact that Apple's not innovating anymore. They can't even make a desktop machine anymore. Like, they can't afford to do that because of the wider impact that I think like a really horrifically boring looking product would have on them.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. So I read this story, and I was listening to a few podcasts that covered the news of this Pro Workflow team, and I don't have any thoughts. I don't have any particular opinion about the Mac Pro itself. I did want to talk about the concept of the Pro Workflow team and the idea that they called a bunch of people to work at Apple, and these people all use Mac computers for advanced video editing and all these other tasks that Apple has identified as pro tasks. And in reading this story on TechCrunch, I felt this strange sort of dissonance in terms of marketing from the same company that sells an iPad Pro to say our Pro Workflow team is all about macOS. And I'm going to be that guy, of course, who says you can also do pro things on iOS. So why is the Pro Workflow team Mac only, or Mac most of the time at least? It seems like it's not really a Pro Workflow team, but almost like a team of consultants that they hired to tell them what they should do for the Mac Pro. But to call it like a Pro Workflow team, so this umbrella term that should include iOS, should include the iPad Pro, which has Pro in the name, but seemed to be mostly focused on macOS and this new computer. It should be called really the Mac Pro team at this point, or the Mac Pro consultants. A
couple things. One, like, I would hope, and maybe we give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe we don't, that Apple does have a group pushing the boundaries of iOS in the way that this team is helping them with the Mac Pro. But if you look at the type of tasks that this computer is built for, same thing that iMac Pro is built for, right? Audio production, video production, rendering, 3D graphics, AR and VR development. Very little of that happens on iOS. I'm not saying that it can't, or I'm not saying that it won't in the future, but if you're talking about like people who buy $10,000 computers to make movies on, they're just not going to use an iPad, at least at this point. And I think that the consumer, the professional market that does still use Apple products for this stuff, and Apple's lost ground there over the last few years, that the Mac is their tool of choice, because as great as the iPad Pro is and as great as some apps on it are, there's nothing even close to what you can do in something like Adobe Premiere or Adobe After Effects. That just doesn't exist on iOS. And so if you need those tools, you choose between a Mac and a PC, and Apple only builds one of those. So I think to a degree, you're complaining about something that like is sort of a fixed entity, at least now. Now, will the iPad get there in the future? I really think it will. But at this point, at least, if you are, one of these like really high-end professionals, the Mac or PC is your only option because the iPad isn't there yet. It may be there for other types of professional work, and you are the king of that. But in what they are talking about in this article and what this machine is really designed for, the iPad just not really an option.
It just feels strange to me, I suppose, that both platforms are called Pro. Mac Pro, iMac Pro, and iPad Pro. It's right there in the name. I didn't choose the name, Apple did. But only one of them gets the special team. So,
well, and I don't think this team would exist if they weren't building this computer, right? Like, it feels...
Exactly. So it's a Mac Pro consultant team.
Well, they have said that this team is also working on all lines of professional Macintosh, right? So, like, the iMac Pro and the MacBook Pro will also, like, this team will feed into it. I do have two potential counterpoints for you, Federico. I think point one is a problem that I can see, and I know a lot of people have felt, depending on what type of work they do, it is who Apple considers to be a creative professional and the type of work a creative professional does is very constrained to the Mac, right? So 3D animation, like all of the things that you mentioned, like 3D animation, audio creation, like music, film editing and stuff like that, all of that stuff is better suited to the Mac. There are a lot of creative professionals that Apple have not chosen to reference and or potentially hire to work with to get their opinions on this. You know, like, I know especially in our community, a lot of developers are like, well, okay, like, I am a professional who uses Macintoshes. Like, do we not look at what my concerns are? Like, is it just people that use Final Cut and not people that use Xcode? Right? So, like, I think that one of the reasons that this team seems to only be publicly working on stuff that's going to go for the Mac is that the use cases Apple have chosen to focus on are typically Mac-focused use cases. My other thought is Apple hired these people, I think, because they had to agree that they didn't know what they were doing, right? Like, they needed to hire these people because they clearly felt like they had been doing wrong to the people using those machines because everything they did was not making them happy. My thought is maybe they don't feel that way with iOS. Like, Apple feel like they've got that under control.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look, everything that they've done for professional iPad users, by and large, over the last couple of years, has made that community more happy. So that would be my feeling, is like they maybe Apple felt like they'd lost their way for Mac professionals in a way that they haven't for iOS professionals, or at least they feel like they have a better roadmap for iOS professionals on their own without needing external assistance. So they brought in the Pro Workflow team for the Mac because they're just potentially a more complex area anyway, trying to understand how these people work, and that maybe they just didn't have a clear enough roadmap because everything they have been doing has been upsetting the professional community of the Mac.
Yeah, so it's either that they think they're doing okay in terms of addressing the Pro customer on iOS, and so they need the extra help for the Mac, or they call it an iPad Pro, but they don't really think it's a Pro machine in the same way that the Mac can be, which is true, but
it's a different kind of professional, and I think that the type of professional on the Mac is have more complex needs. You know, like a professional iPad user, by and large, means someone who uses iOS to do work, and that work is typically like email and spreadsheets and documents and that kind of stuff, which is, I think, by and large, pretty much taken care of and is getting stronger in a way that maybe the Mac has not been.
Yeah.
Recently.
And you can see that difference in Apple's own tools, right? So something like iMovie on the iPad it has a set of tools, and if what you need to build fits in those tools, that's great. But if you need something like Final Cut or Adobe Premiere, Apple hasn't brought Final Cut to the iPad yet. They still see a distinction between what the devices are sort of geared toward, what their strengths are. You know, something like Final Cut benefits from having a big 27-inch display and a keyboard and a trackpad, and maybe they haven't worked out a way to make that really work on the iPad yet. I don't know the specifics, but I think even in the way Apple treats the Pro products, they see a distinction in the type of Pro users that gravitate toward each one. I don't think that means that, one is up and one is down in their view, but I think Mike does have a point that I think they are fully aware at this point. I think that's what led them to this roundtable a year ago, that their Mac professional users, especially in the creative industries, were hurting. And, I have some frustration this machine is taking so long, but in seeing that they have put this team together and that they're working on like actual projects and producing actual content and like seeing how it all fits together, that I find encouraging, because Apple at least is finally listening to what those users need.
Yep. So we have no idea what teams exist inside of Apple. Like Matt Panzarino makes reference to the fact in the article, right, that this team has existed for quite a while now, but now they're choosing to share it. It's like this is just an example of like, who knows what type of teams are working on different platforms, right? Like there literally could be an iPad Pro workflow team for all we know, but they just don't feel the need to share it because it's not required.
Yeah. And they're trying to build a case right now of, we are listening, they are trying to make it right, which is the whole reason they disclosed it. So I don't think they're...
And honestly, like if they do have some kind of professional iPad advancement team, now is the wrong time to share that. Right? You share that information right now, and it's like more fuel to the fire that they're just going to kill the Mac. Which I think right now is not what Apple want to put out into the world, right? Like, I think that right now they are laying the groundwork for everything we were talking about last week and we'll continue talking about for the next couple of months, right? Transitions. And one of the best ways to start this transition is to try and make sure that Mac customers are comfortable, right? Like, because as soon as you start doing something where you're making the Mac more iOS-y, it's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable. So laying the groundwork now to show that the Mac is in good hands and being taken care of is a very important thing that Apple need to do. So, if I'm working there, it's like, how much stuff can we do right now to make sure that our Mac customers feel like they're being taken care of? And that's where stuff like this happens. Because in a few months' time, there might be some kind of software platform which, in some people's minds, might like devalue Mac development a little bit, right? And so I think that it is important right now to show that you're being taken care of, right? And I think that they are. Like, I think they can show what they're actually doing, and I think that Apple clearly is recommitted to the Macintosh in a way that they haven't been in multiple years. So that's why they're proving it, right? They're bringing people in and walking them around and proving it. Unless you're a Mac Mini customer.
Oh man,
that doesn't exist.
They have no pro team caring about those people.
No, they have a mini team. Just a really tiny team of people.
One intern.
Yeah, it's this mini team. All right, should we take a break?
Yeah.
Do you feel okay, Federico?
I do.
Yeah, you feel okay now?
Yeah.
If we helped to make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally comfortable with my iPad Pro. I just want to make sure. That it gets some love. It's that the Pro efforts are not gonna be exclusive to the Mac going forward.
Maybe me and you should be the Pro workflow team.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to work at Apple?
No, but like we could just send them a bunch of email about it.
Or we can make our own team and just we're the Pro workflow team, but we don't work at Apple. Who cares?
Yeah, we're independent, and we just... you know what? I actually think we've been doing that for the last couple of years. I think we've already been doing that.
It's like it's like when you hear the news of random people establishing countries. It's like, now I'm the king of, we are
the independent Pro workflow team of iPad.
Good luck with that, guys.
We have our own passports and everything. Today's show is brought to you by Casper, the company focused on sleep, dedicated to making you exceptionally comfortable one night at a time. You spend so much of your life sleeping, a third of it in fact. So don't you want to make sure that it's the best that it can possibly be? This is why you want a Casper mattress. They're perfectly designed for human beings with engineering to soothe and support our natural geometry. Casper mattresses have all the right support in all the right places. How do they do this? Well, they combine multiple supportive memory foams for a quality mattress that has just the right sink and bounce. These mattresses are designed and developed in the US, and they have a breathable design that will help regulate your body temperature throughout the night. You know, you're not going to need to like roll around, stick your leg out the duvet, or that kind of stuff, because the mattress isn't going to make you all hot and sweaty. You're going to be nice and comfortable. And with over 20,000 reviews and an average rating of 4.8 stars online, you can see why Casper is becoming the internet's favorite mattress. They even have a 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial, so you can be sure of your purchase. They will deliver directly to your door. You can put it in your bed, you can dress it up with your sheets and sleep on it for up to 100 nights. And if you don't love it for any reason, they have a hassle-free return policy, so you can buy it and be safe in knowing that you're going to be comfortable because of that 100-night risk-free sleep on it trial. Stephen, can you tell me a little bit about like how you introduce a Casper mattress to your home?
It's great. It shows up in a box like the size of a dorm fridge. Like, you know, we've all obviously seen mattresses and we've all moved mattresses. That's a terrible experience. You don't have to do that when you get one new. It comes in this box. You take it into the room you want it to be in. You cut it open. It shows you right where to cut and right how to open it, so you're not going to hurt anything. You're not going to damage it.
Don't stab the mattress. That's a bad idea.
Don't want to stab it.
It's not a good way to introduce the mattress to you. No,
it's going to set the relationship off on the wrong foot.
You don't want that.
You open it up and it unfurls and it sort of pulls all the air into it, and it is like we periscoped ours because it's so crazy. Like it's just this box. You drag it in, no problem. Open it up and it's just there, ready to go. Like a plant coming up from the earth. You know, for the very first time, a Casper springs into life in your bedroom.
Oh, metaphors. You can get $50 towards select mattress purchases by going to casper.com/connected and using the code CONNECTED at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Once again, that is casper.com/connected and the offer code CONNECTED for $50 towards select mattress purchases. Our thanks to Casper for their support of this show and Relay FM. So we were speaking earlier about the fact that Apple were doing great things. You know, they have a phone and it goes out and can help improve the world. But they're doing other things to improve the world. In recycling, Apple has announced... Well, not recycling. Clean energy is what I'm thinking of. Apple have announced... Oh, just you do it. Okay. I don't want to do it anymore. You do it.
Apple has announced that all of its facilities are now powered by 100% clean energy. This came out in a press release and then I found at least a very fascinating article in Fast Company that kind of walks through like how it actually works. Because like it's not that every Apple store has a solar panel on like the roof of the local mall, right? It's that they are purchasing clean energy, they're putting energy back in the grid, and it balances out. So every store, office, data center, everything. They said they have like these little remote offices with like one team in them. Even those, like if they're in some other building, they are all accounted for with clean energy. And in that Fast Company article, they talked to Lisa Jackson, who is the executive in charge of all this at Apple. And she says, other companies like try to buy credit and like try to like fudge the numbers and make this work. And she actually said, Apple, we have been at 96% for a while now. And some companies would just round that up, but Apple wants to say, no, we are truly 100%. But what I think is even more impressive, and that is impressive on its own, they're building solar farms all over the place, all sorts of crazy stuff. But they are working with their manufacturing partners to have them committed to going 100% clean as well. So they have 9 additional partners they've announced, bringing up to a total of 23. So these are companies that, for instance, make components that go into an iPhone or an iPad, or the company that produces this one part of this one chip or this one type of connector or something. So all these, Apple's manufacturing this huge web, right, of all these different companies all over the world, and they are pushing further into that web to say, hey, we do this from a corporate standpoint. We want you to do it as well. And Apple's big enough, right, to say that to somebody like, hey, it'd be a real shame if something happened to your factory here. You should hook it up to some clean energy. That's basically, I think, what's happening.
You've got a strong arm of people making them offers they can't refuse.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, it's not a solar panel on the roof of every mall that has an Apple store. It's more complicated than that. But it's very clear to me reading this article that Apple takes it very, very seriously, and that they are like, Apple is kind of an energy company, right? They say that they're not, but like they kind of are, like you're dealing with all these things on a massive scale. And we talk about Apple's employee numbers and how those ranks have just swelled. Thousands of people are working on this stuff, right? That they're going out into these communities and talking with local energy companies and building solar farms and managing wind farms and all this stuff. It's a massive effort, and it's a real milestone to hit 100%.
Yeah, I think this is a typical example of like the weird problems that Apple faces being the size that they are. Like, they're so large and they have so many customers and so many employees that they find themselves walking into all of these weird things. Like, they're also kind of a bank.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have so much. They have like Apple Pay and then Apple Pay Cash, where they have people's money, and that money can be spent inside of the Apple system. But because they have so many people, it kind of makes them like a bank. And they, sometimes they have to make sure that their buildings are powered. So they have to create huge solar farms and huge wind farms, as you say, making them kind of like an electricity company. Because they do buy a lot of this stuff, but in some instances, they are building it themselves. Right. They are building their own energy plants or whatever, which is just this really wild idea to think of the fact that they're doing this. Like, it is... this is one of those things where you're a company of Apple's size and money, you can focus on stuff that you care about because you have the ability to do so. You have the clout to do so. And, with the manufacturing partners, I'm sure it's one of these situations coming to contract negotiation time, and these companies really want to stick with Apple, and they're like, great, we'll tell you what you can do.
Yeah.
We want 100% clean energy from you. And it's like, what are you going to do? Right? You need that contract, so you do it. So this is like Apple using their power to do something that is good. Like in this, so, we're saying there can be a cynical take on the red iPhone, right? I feel like there's less of a cynical take available here. Like, they're not able to sell anything because of the fact that they're on 100% renewable energy. Like, this just really feels like a thing that you do that makes this corporate good.
Yeah.
That maybe makes some people think better about you, but you can get away with saying you're 90%, and most people will feel pretty much the same. But like, they push it to the final mark because they care about it and because they have the facility to do it. Like, this is something that they can afford to do, so they just do it.
And they're not done, right? Like, they are expanding and building more data centers in there. They talk about their capacity at their data centers. They expect it to go up, up and up and up over the next few years as their services business becomes more important. So this isn't like, oh, we did it, now all these people will have like something else to do. It is very much something that will be ongoing. As they build a new data center, they want to be there on day one, or they lose that 100% mark.
And additional campuses, additional offices, right? Like, they're building a huge presence here in London in the converted Battersea Power Station. They're apparently building a new big campus, whatever that actually means, somewhere in the US, right? So every time they do something like this, they have to make sure they have the power for it. Even just a big new stores, right? Like, everything, it becomes a big part. I expect in the same way that like the device recyclability became a thing for them, right? Like, when Greenpeace was on their back about the damage that their devices are doing to the world, and then Apple sought to fix it. Now, like, every device that they have to make considerations about how recyclable are the parts that we're putting into this. And I expect that that's very similar when it comes to building new offices.
And there's still stuff to do there, right? Like, I'm just going to hold off the email about repairability and that sort of thing, because that is an issue too. But it's clear that Apple cares about this, and there's still work to be done. Like, the iPads are all still glued together. It's still difficult to take them apart unless you know what you're doing. But clearly it's something that they are working toward in those other areas as well.
What was the name of the recycling robot?
Liam.
I haven't heard about him for a while. I want to know how he's doing. All the great lenses.
Okay. How many of them?
17 lenses on the next iPhone.
Okay.
That's where we're going.
So what's this rumor from?
There was a rumor from the Taiwan Economic Daily News via Mac Rumors that the next iPhone, the 2019 iPhone, is going to add a third lens to the camera, third 12-megapixel lens. And what this will add to the current two lenses that we have. And what could this do? right? Why would you want to add another lens? Well, something that could be done with another lens is 5 times zoom. And this would assumedly be, from the rumor, optical zoom, because the iPhones can already do 5 times digital zoom. Even the 10 can do 10 times. So you would want 5 times optical zoom, and that would be kind of incredible, right? And you think to yourself, why would somebody put 3 lenses on a phone? Well, Huawei just did it with the P20, which if you've not seen the Huawei P20, that is a good-looking cell phone,
it is.
in my opinion. It's got all the tenets of a current, like cell phone you'd expect, right? Big screen, thin bezels, all that kind of stuff. It's got a notch on it, right? Which you can turn on and off, which is kind of hilarious. I love Android, man. I freaking love Android because like that is like maybe the most Android thing that has ever happened. They can turn off the notch. Like freaking love that. That is incredible. Like more power to you. But the real design feature of the Huawei P20 is it has like a Need for Speed paint job. What is that called? When it can, you can get 2 colors, and depending on the light, it shows a different color.
Like iridescent?
Yeah. It's like what they put on Fast and Furious cars.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? It's that kind of paint job. This Huawei P20, it has a 3-lens system, all right? It has a 40 megapixel f1.8 primary lens, a 20 megapixel f1.6 monochrome lens, which I think is to help do a lot of the depth stuff, so like they map them together, and then an 8 megapixel f2.4 telephoto lens with a 3 times optical zoom. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes to a review from The Verge. The photos from this phone look incredible, and it is reviewing very well, right? Like Vlad Savov, who's a great reviewer, like I really trust the stuff that he's saying. It's like this is a iPhone 10 / Samsung Galaxy S9 competitor, right? Like this is up there. I mean, there are issues with Huawei right now, Stephen. Am I correct? I learned this from Subnet.
Yeah, parts of the U.S. government basically want to ban them from the U.S. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, because they're a Chinese company, right? And there's some concern about
they're
them.
they're in tight with the Chinese government in ways that make some American politicians uncomfortable.
No carriers were carrying the previous Huawei phone, so who knows if you can get it? But it does look really great. So, I mean, now that it exists in a phone, you can see why you would want it, right? Like why it might exist. Like, if I could get 3 or 5 times optical zoom on my phone, like I think I would very much like that feature, even if it meant adding a 3rd camera to the phone. Especially if they tried to find a way to put it all in one unit. I do think that the Huawei P20 looks really weird, that it has the 2-camera unit and then a 3rd, like, solo lens.
That's called, we want to look like the iPhone 10, but we also want a 3rd camera. Solved it.
Yeah. But, like, I don't know why they can't just put it all in one 3-long line. Because, like, it's not like the bump is still the same. Like, it's the same effect because it's still the same, like, row. And I would expect that Apple would do that, right? Like, they would put it all in one line. But, like, I always want my camera to get better, even if it means doing weird stuff. Like, the Band-Aid was ripped off when they turned it into a bump. At that point, you can do whatever you want,
right?
In my opinion.
Yeah. At what point is the entire back of the phone is a lens? Like, the entire back is just...
There's a product out there called the Light L16. It is a camera.
Okay.
It's one of the ugliest, one of the very ugliest consumer products that exist in the world.
It's $2,000. But
oh God, no!
It's like a plus size phone, and it has basically 16 smartphone sensors in it. The best part is they're all labeled on the back. So like this one here is 70 millimeter mid range.
It's pointless. Like, why?
Are you guys familiar with the term trypophobia?
Yes, and it triggers me. I don't like that. Yeah.
It's basically fear of
holes
irregular small holes. Yes.
Yeah. And it makes me very uncomfortable.
The L16 camera does that to me.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it a lot. I'm pleased that we share this. This weird. It's oh god, I'm googling to put it in the show notes and it's showing me images.
Don't do it, Mike. It's
sorry.
The camera is like it's always a safe bet to count on an improved camera in the new iPhone, right? Like that's the safest draft pick of them all when it comes to an iPhone event. The thing that I have really been surprised by is that I do use that 2x optical zoom kind of a lot, like especially on the 10.
I use it a lot
where it's so good.
Yep.
Like I use it if my kids are doing something or like something outside. I want to punch in a little bit. So having some more range, I'd be all for that. I think that would really make it an even more flexible platform. One thing I think Apple should work on though is making the trade-offs that come with those those lenses a little better. So if the f-stops could be the same, that would be great. If they're both optically stabilized in the iPhone 10, having that on this third one would be great. But I think I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all.
I mean, it's one of those things where like if somebody else does it and the benefits are good, it probably means Apple will do it, right? So like I'm thinking like the notch, right? Somebody did it before Apple, but for good reason.
Yeah.
So they did it too, right? So like I think even multiple lenses somebody did first, I think, right? Like having two cameras on a phone. So
I do want to be careful in the way that we phrase that because it's not like who put the first notch in the phone? What's
Essential?
Yeah, they sold like 8 of them. It's not like Apple saw Andy Rubin's new phone like, we got it. There's this idea of like parallel development, right? That and people like to defend Apple with this and not point at Samsung at it. Like all companies do this, right? Like we're not drawing lines in the sand.
Simultaneous creation.
Yeah.
Like if an idea is good enough, like the industry is all eventually moving towards it.
Right.
So like they'll get there together.
Yeah, so,
right? Like there is no way that like Samsung can come out with the Infinity display and then Apple can come out with the iPhone 10 based upon them working across what each other are doing.
Right.
Like everyone's moving towards that anyway
Yes.
because they are the logical movements of hardware development.
I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. But, like Huawei did it first, probably. I mean, who knows? There's probably some phone somewhere that have done this as well, but they've done it first effectively, which means that like if this is the best way to do what is trying to be done, more smartphones will probably do it, right? And you can think about the one of the things in the Galaxy S9 was the what does the lens do? What is it called? Like where it physically moves?
Like the
aperture.
Yeah, it has two apertures.
Right, but it seems like all of the reviews, people are going like, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. So probably nobody else will do that for now until there can be significant difference to it. Like Samsung did it, and it makes some difference, but it's really not very much, like on a day-to-day basis. So that might not be something we see catch on to everybody else. But like adding more lenses is always going to make, well, in theory, can make things better. Today's episode is also brought to you by Simple Contacts. It is amazing when an app can take a tiresome task and make it fuss-free for you, and that is what Simple Contacts does by being the easy way to renew your contact lens prescription. You'll be able to reorder your contacts from anywhere in just minutes. All you need to do is complete their online self-guided vision test. It takes less than 5 minutes, and you can do it from wherever you are right now. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. You can order your favorite contacts right from their website or app. Simple Contacts offers all of the lens brands that you love, or every one that you want to use, with options for astigmatism, multifocal lenses, colored lenses, and more. You're able to order exactly what you need right from the palm of your hand, whenever or wherever you want. Their vision test costs just $20. For comparison, an appointment without insurance could cost you way over $200. Simple Contacts wants to save you money and time. It is worth noting, and we want to let you know, this is not a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. Their vision test is just to make sure that they have the correct prescription for you. Simple Contacts will check that the current prescription still helps you see 20/20 and renew that prescription as well. Simple Contacts, they end up just checking your current prescription, they make sure it helps you see 20/20, and they kind of just renew that for you. So they're not writing new prescriptions for you every time or examining your eye health. You want to make sure that you're still going to get your full eye health exam. Now, Stephen, I know that you've been through this Simple Contacts process as well, right?
I have, and it's really great. I mean, I did it. I set the phone up with the app, and it tells you how far away to walk, and then it walks you through the vision test. You have your contacts in, because their whole idea is make sure your contact are still, doing what they need to be doing. Went through the test, and then I could select from a big variety of brands. I use kind of a very specific contact lens brand. I've tried a bunch and found only one that works for me. And they had them, and within a few days, they were on my doorstep. It was really fast and kind of sci-fi to get to use your phone in that way. It was fun.
As a listener of this show, you can get $30 off your contact lenses. Just go to simplecontacts.com/connected, and you can enter connected at checkout. That is simplecontacts.com/connected, or simply use the code connected at checkout for $30 off. That is a great, great discount. Our thanks to Simple Contacts for their support of this show.
So we're going to wrap up this week talking about this rumor about Spotify. So like we said, they had their IPO and they're busy. They have lots of people listening, but they want even more people listening because that's what you have to do after an IPO. And so they have an event coming up on April 24th, and it is rumored, and it's actually backed up by like some people like on Reddit and Twitter saying they've actually like seen marketing materials for this. That maybe it leaked a little bit from Spotify, but it seems that Spotify may be developing an in-car streaming device. So it kind of looks like a Chromecast. It's like pretty small, and you leave it in your car via Bluetooth, and it has voice control, which Spotify has been working on, where you could just talk to the app or talk to this device, and it would basically kind of more or less like hardwire or Bluetooth Spotify to your car stereo. So you don't have to fiddle with your phone while you're driving. You just have this thing is dedicated, just kind of lives somewhere like clipped on the air vent or something. And obviously uses LTE. So you're looking at, some sort of subscription, maybe like $12.99 a month to cover the data. But it's kind of cool. Like I kind of really like this idea. It's like it's kind of like a modern iPod in a way if you use Spotify. So, Federico, what do you think about this? You're a Spotify user. You have a car. Does this make sense to you?
No, I stopped using Spotify like a few months ago, but I think it's an awesome idea.
I can't keep up.
I think it's an awesome idea, and I kind of wish that Apple made one of these. If I'm getting the details right, so this is an independent device that you can set up in your car. It connects via Bluetooth. It's got its own microphone, so it does not connect to the microphone via the phone, but it's got its own audio input. And it's got its own cellular connection, so again, it does not depend on the phone. I think it's an awesome idea, especially because I have this problem in my car. It does not. I have two problems actually. It does not support CarPlay, so it's a Kia car that it came out like the year before that Kia started supporting CarPlay. So I need to use my phone via standard Bluetooth, and I get no special interface on my car's dashboard. And when I try to play music using Siri, there's this delay between saying the trigger word or pressing the side button and the microphone sound indicating that Siri input is active, becoming, playing on the stereo. So it's like I gotta press or invoke Siri and then wait like 3 seconds before I can start talking, which is a Bluetooth bug that was never fixed for me, and it basically makes voice activation unusable. And so I would love to have this kind of device that it's independent from the phone. It doesn't have it uses its own microphone instead of rerouting the input to the car and adding that delay. There's probably some kind of setting that I can change, but I don't know how this stuff works. I would love to have like an Apple Music puck that I can put in my car and it works. I think it's an awesome idea. I think if it's done right, and if I were a Spotify user, I would be totally over this and get one immediately. And again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the show before, but I think what, for example, Google is doing with, what's it called? Android Auto?
Yes.
The CarPlay version of Google. The fact that it runs on phones, that you can kind of emulate Android Auto on compatible phones. I think that's a feature that they kind of announced last year. I think it should be available on iOS too. Like Apple should, for people like me who own an iPhone and want to have iOS features in the car, but cannot get a CarPlay car just because Apple, just because of Apple. I'm not changing the car that I drive because of Apple. But also, I would love to have CarPlay. So why not enable like a special CarPlay UI mode on my phone?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be part of Do Not Disturb while driving.
Exactly.
Right? Like Apple clearly feel that CarPlay is safe enough when you're driving.
Like, I feel like these, these big companies, instead of, I mean, it's awesome that they're working directly with car manufacturers to bring these new services and software into new models, and some, select old models. I think there should be more ways to retroactively bring these features into older cars, so that you're still helping everyone not be distracted or listen to music or bring up navigation. So whether it's a separate device like Spotify for music playback, or what Google is doing with Android Auto, I welcome all of these initiatives, because I think everything you can do to make me look at my phone less, that's it gets a big thumbs up from me.
As soon as I saw this Spotify thing, it made me think: are they building their own Kindle? Like this is like the Kindle. Yeah. Right, like, because I'm assuming you're not going to pay for the cell service in this thing. Like, it's all wrapped up in your monthly fee, because they give you a monthly, like a year commitment, right, with these things. And there was, like, as you're saying, that there's multiple models depending on the price. It seemed to be leaked, one that had Echo support, one that didn't, and the price change is different for those. And I would expect it has like some storage on it, so it's loading music in there, and then anything else is pulling from 4G. And I just saw this and was like, this really reminds me of how the Kindle started.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely seems like a smart thing, but like, obviously we have no real details about it. I mean, it may as well be a real product, considering how people have seen it, right? Like, I don't really look at this as a rumor. This just looks like something that accidentally leaked. Yeah. But there are so many things. Like, how does this thing actually play music? Like, does it have a speaker built into it? How does it connect to your like stereo? Like, I'm not sure about all of that.
Because you gotta use I suppose you gotta use the phone to set it up initially. I guess if it doesn't have a speaker, so it connects to the car via Bluetooth. So it implements the Bluetooth standard. What's it called? It's got a specific name that I don't remember. And it's got a microphone, so you can talk to it. And it's like a phone, but it's got I don't know. You talk to the small Spotify device, which then streams audio via Bluetooth to the car. But then, does the car think it's a phone or some other kind of device?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Does it have like a... Yeah, because it's not really a phone, but if I can connect directly to the car, it's pretending to be a phone, which what happens if you then have an actual phone that you also want to connect to the car? Like, if I'm supposed to, like, if you connect this Spotify thing, do you stop receiving phone calls on your phone while driving?
Do you think this is a good idea for Spotify, or do you think it's like a distraction?
I mean... music while driving, it's extremely common, and it's that kind of feature that because Spotify does not own the devices that we use, it does not make Android phones, it does not make iPhones. They are an application. So they have realized that to keep to entice people to listen more and more and as much as possible, especially when you consider the things they're doing with podcasting. So, like, for example, imagine if you have this Spotify device and you get in your car in the morning and you ask Spotify to play the news, and you get this special programming from Spotify. So they need to make sure that you're always listening no matter where you are. And on the smartphone, they can do that with the app on your home screen. But when you're driving, they are at a disadvantage because both iOS and Android have more integrated systems, starting from the voice assistant, which plugs directly into the built-in music service. So, especially on iOS. So I think they want to do this because they need to make sure that when people are driving, they still listen to Spotify. Otherwise, they end up like me, where it's more convenient for me to, despite my Siri problems with the car microphone, it's still more convenient to use Apple Music because it's integrated with the phone. And when I'm driving, it works better than Spotify. I get the controls on the watch. What I started doing is I ask the Siri on the watch to play stuff because the microphone, it does not redirect to the car's microphone. It just uses the microphone on the watch. So I think the problem here is that Spotify wants to make sure that people, it's kind of exactly like Google with YouTube, they need to make sure that people stay within Spotify and that they keep listening multiple times a day. So how do you do that? You make a device for the car, because otherwise you're still an app and you're subject to limitations that maybe keep people from listening to Spotify all the time.
Yeah, my thing is I struggle to like conceptualize how Spotify will attempt to sell this to people. Like what benefits do you actually get as a customer?
Federico basically summed them all up, that it's better in the car. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't, I don't think it draws like new people to Spotify, right? Because the reality is most people are just going to look at their phones, right? Like we can just be honest about that. We shouldn't, but people do. So I don't think it's like going to be a big growth push for them. But I think if you're like really in the Spotify camp, it maybe reduces friction and it keeps you there as a defense against Apple Music and Siri, which I think is enough. I think it's enough reason for this to exist.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a car, so maybe I don't like resonate with the use case as much. But like, it just seems super strange to like. It's just interesting that you're going to say to people like, "Here is this device that you connect to Bluetooth and play music on." So, well, I can do it on my phone, though.
Right.
Like, so you know what I mean? It's just like the real benefits that you're trying to get people to sign up for it. I mean, one of them is like, hey, it's free if you sign up for a year.
Yeah,
that might be enough of a reason. But I'm keen to see what happens with this. Like, clearly this is what happens when you have an IPO, right?
Mm-hmm. You got to keep doing stuff.
Try in advance.
Keep working.
You got to keep doing stuff. I saw a rumor today about, like, Snapchat Spectacles 2. Like, this is... this is what you have to do, I think, when you put yourself on the stock market. But Spotify are in... I don't want to say danger because they're not. But like they are, I think, an at-risk company going into the future. Like even though they are the dominant company in this space right now, we spoke about this many times. This is all they do is music.
Yeah. And
if that industry continues to get trickier for them, if it's harder for them to make money, they have nothing to undercut it with. And I guess locking people into longer-term contracts by sweetening them with devices could be a good way to continue your solidify your future success, I guess.
And they're a company that is competing with first-party services, right? Apple Music's baked into the OS. That's a big uphill battle.
And putting yourself on the stock market opens you up to this stuff in a more risky way, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Apple announced something, and then Spotify's stock can plummet. Right, and that wouldn't have been something that happened pre-IPO. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. What is this? 2 weeks away, maybe, this event that they're having, which they might announce this?
Yeah, 2 weeks from yesterday.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
All right, so keep an eye out for it.
I think that does it. I think we've done it. If you want to find show notes this week for all the stuff we've talked about, head over to relay.fm/connected/188. If you're there, you can get in touch. You can send us an email, or, of course, you can find us on Twitter. You can find Mike as IMYKE, and Mike hosts a bunch of shows here at Relay FM. You can find Federico at VITICCI, and he writes and is the editor-in-chief, the steady hand on the wheel at MacStories.net. And you can find me on Twitter as ISMH, and I write 512pixels.net. Big thanks to our sponsors this week, Warby Parker, Casper, and Simple Contacts. And until next week, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Adios.